This isn't a fight we can win. Then don't fight, Sarah said. Share? Park frowned. Share what? Sarah pulled out a data chip. She had prepared it during the flight home, copying all the research data, all the calculations. Everything needed to replicate what happened at Mining Station 7. This is the blueprint, Sarah said. For teleportation. I'm not talking about the weapon. I'm talking about the principle. Any railgun can do this. Any species with basic physics can build it. The Council has been hiding this from everyone. Park's eyes widened. You can't be serious. Upload this to Earth's networks, Sarah continued. Let every scientist, every engineer, every research lab see it. Once it's public, the Council can't suppress it anymore. They'll have to negotiate, or they'll destroy us, Park said. Sarah met her gaze. General, they're going to do that anyway. The moment they have me in custody, the moment they secure the data, Earth becomes a liability. A species that knows too much. They'll isolate us forever, or worse. Park was silent for a long moment. Then she took the data chip. This is treason, she said quietly. If you're wrong, you'll have doomed humanity. If I'm right, Sarah replied, I'll have freed it. Park left the room. Sarah sat down, her hands shaking. She had just made the biggest gamble of her life. Malik stared at her. Did you really just... Yes, Sarah said. 2 hours later, the data went live. Sarah watched it happen on the briefing room's monitor. First, it appeared on Earth's scientific networks, then academic databases, then public forums. The blueprint spread like fire through dry grass within 30 minutes. 3 separate research teams confirmed the calculations. Within an hour, a university in Tokyo successfully replicated the effect using a small-scale railgun. Within 2 hours, a commercial shipping company accidentally created the first stable teleportation gateway. While testing the theory, the Council response was, immediate observer Zarthax appeared on every screen across Earth. His calm demeanor was gone. The alien looked furious. You have committed an unforgivable act, Zarthax announced. Humanity has released dangerous, prohibited technology. The Galactic Council has no choice but to respond with appropriate force. An enforcement fleet is en route to Earth. You have 48 hours to evacuate your cities. After that, sterilization protocols will begin. The broadcast ended. Sarah felt ice in her stomach. Sterilization. They were going to kill everyone. General. Park burst into the briefing room. What have you done? What I had to, Sarah replied, though her voice shook. You're sending a fleet, Park said. Planet killers? Weapons that can burn continents? They'll be here in 40 hours. Malik stood suddenly. Then we have 40 hours to work. Park turned to him. Work on what? Defense, Malik said. He pulled up the data on his pad. If we can teleport projectiles, we can teleport anything. Satellites, weapons, maybe even ships. The Council is coming with conventional weapons. Energy beams, missiles, kinetic bombardment. But what if our defenses simply aren't where they expect them to be? Sarah felt hope flicker in her chest. We teleport our satellites inside their ships, exactly, Malik said. We don't fight them in space. We fight them from inside their hulls. Park stared at them. That's insane. We've never even tested. We have 40 hours, Sarah interrupted. The data is already public. Every lab, every military base, every ship manufacturer on Earth is working on this right now. The Council thinks they're coming to destroy primitives. But we're not primitive anymore. Jack was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was not a kind smile. All right, the general said. Let's show them what humans can do when we're not playing by their rules. Across Earth, factories roared to life. Scientists worked without sleep. Every railgun, every weapon system, every defense satellite was modified with the new technology. Humanity had discovered teleportation 6 hours ago. Now they would weaponize it. The Council fleet was coming. But Sarah Chen had opened a door that couldn't be closed. And in 40 hours, the galaxy would learn what happened when humans refused to stay in their place. Deep in space, a junior Council diplomat named Kess watched the broadcasts from Earth. She saw the data spreading. saw humans working frantically, saw them preparing for war, and Kess made a decision. She accessed the Council's classified archives, the ones only senior diplomats could see. Files marked suppressed history. Information about the real reason the Council controlled teleportation technology. Then she copied everything, sent it to Earth, if the humans were going to fight. Kess thought, they deserved to know the truth. Part 3. The 40-hour war. The Council enforcement fleet emerged from their jump exactly on schedule. 36 warships, each one carrying enough firepower to burn a continent. They arranged themselves in a standard bombardment formation around Earth. Precise, professional, overwhelming. Admiral Vorn stood on the flagship's bridge and looked at the primitive blue planet below. He felt no pleasure in this duty. Sterilization protocols were rare, used only when a species threatened galactic stability. But the Council's orders were clear. Humanity had obtained forbidden knowledge. They had to be stopped. All ships report ready, his tactical officer announced. Weapons charged. Targeting solutions locked. Vorn nodded. Send the final warning. Give them 10 minutes to respond. The message broadcast across all frequencies. Surrender immediately or face extinction. VOR, expected panic. Expected desperate pleas for mercy. Instead, Earth's response was a single word. No. Vorn sighed. Begin bombardment, and Earth's defense satellites vanished. Every single one. 200 satellites, gone in an instant. Vorn's tactical officer stared at her console in confusion. All targets have disappeared from sensors. Possible cloaking technology. The bridge exploded, not from outside. From inside, a human defense satellite materialized in the center of the command deck and detonated. Vorn had exactly 1 second to register the impossible sight before the blast consumed him. Across the Council fleet, the same thing happened. Satellites appeared inside ships, inside bridges, inside weapons decks, inside reactor cores. They materialized through solid holes, as if the metal wasn't there, in 40 seconds. 20 Council warships went dark. Sarah Chen watched the battle from Earth's orbital command center. The screens showed Council ships breaking apart, explosions rippling through their hulls. It was working. The teleportation technology let human weapons bypass every defense. Target the remaining ships, she ordered. Focus on their weapons systems. More satellites teleported. This time, they appeared next to the Council ship's main cannons, destroying the guns before they could fire a single shot. We're getting communication from the Council flagship, a technician announced. What's left of it? The screen flickered. A Council officer appeared, his face covered in blood. Stop. We surrender. Please, stop. Sarah felt no triumph, only grim necessity. Cease fire, she ordered. Hail the Council fleet. The officer's face filled the screen. He looked terrified. You have 2 choices, Sarah said. Retreat now, or we'll continue. We don't want to kill you, but we will defend ourselves. This is impossible, the officer whispered. Your weapons. They appear inside our shields. How? The same way your people have been traveling for thousands of years, Sarah replied. Teleportation. The technology you've been hiding from everyone. The Council officer's face went pale. He understood. The secret was out. Humanity offers a truce, Sarah continued. Retreat. Tell your Council we want to talk, not fight. But if you send more fleets, we'll destroy them too. The officer nodded quickly. WE will withdraw. The remaining Council ships retreated. They didn't use jump gates. They didn't risk returning to any Council station. They simply flew away at maximum speed, terrified of the primitives who could teleport weapons through solid matter. Sarah exhaled slowly. They had one. Earth had survived, but the celebration was short-lived. Ma'am Malik called from his station. You need to see this. We just received a data package from someone in the Council. It's their classified archives. Sarah walked over. The screen showed thousands of documents, historical records, scientific reports, strategic analysis, all marked with the highest security classifications. "Who sent this?" Sarah asked. "Someone named Kess," Malik replied. "A junior diplomat." She included a message. The message appeared on the screen. "You deserve to know why we kept this secret. Read about the Cascade War. Understand what we feared. Then decide if we were right to be afraid." Sarah opened the first file. What she read made her blood run cold. 12,000 years ago, a species called the Orthani discovered teleportation. They were brilliant, curious, aggressive. They used the technology to build an empire. They teleported armies directly into enemy cities, teleported weapons into rival planets' cores, teleported antimatter bombs into stars. Within 50 years, the Orthani wiped out 600 billion lives. They destroyed 43 civilizations. They turned 12 solar systems into graveyards. The war only ended when every other species in the galaxy united against them. It took 3,000 years to hunt down every Orthani. 3,000 years of the bloodiest fighting in galactic history. When it was over, the survivors formed the Galactic Council. They made one absolute rule: never let another species develop teleportation. Control the technology. Suppress the research. Keep everyone safe, even if it meant keeping them primitive. "They weren't evil," Sarah whispered. "They were traumatized." Malik nodded. "They watched a civilization destroy half the galaxy with this technology. So they decided to hide it forever." Sarah understood now. The Council's tyranny came from fear. Fear that another species would become like the Orthane. Fear that sharing teleportation meant inviting another Cascade War. But they were wrong. Sarah believed that. They had to be wrong. "Ma'am, we're receiving communications from all over the galaxy," a technician interrupted. "Dozens of species. They're all saying the same thing." "What are they saying?" Sarah asked. "They're thanking us. They've been watching, waiting, and now they're building their own teleportation systems based on our public blueprint." Sarah felt her stomach drop. How many species? 16 so far. Maybe more. The implications hit her like a physical blow. In less than 48 hours, humanity had broken the Council's monopoly. The technology was spreading across the galaxy. Every species that had been held back, kept primitive, was suddenly advancing centuries in a single day. "This is going to be chaos," Malik said quietly. He was right. The galaxy had been stable for 12,000 years because the Council controlled all faster-than-light technology. Now that control was gone. Trade routes would collapse. Old rivalries would resurface. Species that had been enemies would suddenly have the ability to strike each other directly. The communication panel lit up with urgent messages. 3 species had already declared war on each other. A 4th was threatening to teleport weapons into a rival planet's atmosphere. A 5th was demanding territory they lost in ancient conflicts. Sarah had freed the galaxy from tyranny. But freedom came with danger. "Get me a channel to Council headquarters," Sarah ordered. "Highest priority." The screen flickered. Observer Zarthex appeared. He looked exhausted, defeated. "Commander Chen," he said, "are you satisfied? You've destroyed 12,000 years of peace." "I've destroyed 12,000 years of oppression," Sarah corrected. "But I don't want war." "None of us do." "Then you're a fool," Zarthex replied. "Within a week, species will start using this technology to settle old grudges. Within a month, we'll have another Cascade War. You've doomed the galaxy because you couldn't accept your place in it."
"Yeah, war," Sarah said.
"We find a better solution than hiding in fear." Zarthex laughed bitterly. "What solution?" "The Orthani proved that teleportation plus aggression equals extinction. There is no solution." "Then help us find one," Sarah said. "The technology is out. We can't put it back. But maybe we can make sure it doesn't destroy everything. Come to Earth. Bring your council. Let's talk before the shooting starts." Zarthex was silent for a long moment. Then he nodded slowly. "The council is already in emergency session. I'll propose your meeting. But Commander Chen, Understand this. If we can't find a solution, if species start dying, the Council will blame humanity. And we'll make sure everyone else does too. The screen went dark. Sarah looked around the command center. Her team was watching her, waiting for orders. They had won the battle. But the real war, was just beginning. Somewhere in the galaxy, species called the Vrin monitored the communications. They had been watching humanity for months. Watching and hoping, the Vrin had been hiding for 8,000 years. The Council had declared them extinct after they refused to surrender their independence. But they had survived in secret, waiting for the day when the Council's grip finally broke. That day had arrived. The Vrin leader sent a message to Earth, simple, direct. We are the Vrin. The Council claimed we were dead. They lied. We've been waiting for someone brave enough to challenge them. Welcome to the Resistance, humans. Now let's make sure your revolution doesn't burn the galaxy to ash. Part 4. The Shockwave Avenue 2 hours after Sarah Chen released the teleportation blueprint. The galaxy was on fire. Not literally. Not yet. But the old order was collapsing so fast that no one could predict what would rise from the ashes. Sarah stood in Earth's emergency command center and watched the holographic galaxy map. Red indicators bloomed like deadly flowers. Each one represented a conflict. A species testing their new weapons. Old enemies, settling ancient grudges. Civilizations that had been suppressed by the Council suddenly free to act without permission. 16 species now have working teleportation, Malik reported. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. None of them had. 30 more are close. The Council's authority is completely gone. Nobody's following their trade routes. Nobody's respecting their borders. It's chaos. Sarah felt the weight of that chaos crushing down on her shoulders. She had done this. Opened the cage. Released something that couldn't be controlled. Show me the worst conflicts, she ordered. The map zoomed in. 3 situations stood out. The Heketh and the Vrail had been enemies for 6,000 years. The Council had kept them separated, forbidding military action. Now the Heketh had teleported a strike force directly into the Vrail capital city. Thousands dead. The Vrail were preparing retaliation. The Sorvin Collective had lost 3 colony worlds in an ancient war. The Council had declared those worlds permanently ceded. Now the Sorvin were teleporting weapons platforms into orbit around those worlds, demanding their return, and the Calaxa species known for aggressive expansion had started, teleporting survey teams into systems that belonged to other civilizations. They claimed they were just exploring, but everyone knew what exploration meant. Preparation for conquest. This is exactly what the Council feared, Malik said quietly. The Cascade War all over again. Sarah wanted to argue. Wanted to say that species could be trusted with freedom, but the evidence was right there on the map, glowing red with violence. The door opened. General Park entered, followed by a group Sarah didn't recognize. Tall, slender beings with silver skin and 4 arms. Their eyes were large and dark, filled with intelligence. Commander Chen Park said, "This is Ambassador Trevik of the Vrin Collective." Sarah straightened. The Vrin, the species the Council claimed was extinct. "We've been watching you," Trevik said. His voice was musical, like wind chimes. "Watching and hoping. For 8,000 years, the Council has told the galaxy we were dead. They destroyed our trade records, erased our history, turned us into a cautionary tale." "Why?" Sarah asked. "Because we refused to submit," Trevik replied. "When the Council formed after the Cascade War, they demanded absolute obedience. Every species had to surrender their military independence, had to accept Council oversight on all technology. Most species agreed. They were terrified of another war. But you didn't agree," Sarah guessed. Trevik's expression was proud. "We refused. We said species had the right to defend themselves, the right to develop their own technology, the right to freedom, even if freedom was dangerous. The Council couldn't allow that. So they declared us enemies of galactic peace and hunted us. But you survived," Malik said. "We hid," Trevik corrected. We found systems far from Council space. We've been protecting other species who refuse to submit. Building a network of free civilizations. Waiting for the day when someone would finally break the Council's grip. Sarah felt a chill. How many species are in your network? 43, Trevik said. Species the Council claims are extinct, or primitive, or quarantined for dangerous behavior. All lies. We're alive. We're advanced. And we've been preparing for this moment. General Park looked uncomfortable. Ambassador Trevek has a proposal. The galaxy needs a new system, Trevek said. The Council is finished. Nobody trusts them anymore. But we can't have chaos either. The conflicts you're seeing? They'll escalate. Within a month, species will start using antimatter weapons, teleporting them directly into population centers. The death toll will be catastrophic. So what do? Sarah asked. We create something new, Trevik replied. Not a council. Not a central authority. Something distributed. A mutual defense network where every species has an equal voice. Where technology is shared freely, but aggression is punished by everyone together. Sarah wanted to believe it was possible, but she had seen the map. Seen the violence spreading? Species won't agree to that, she said. Not when they finally have power. They will if the alternative is extinction, Trevik said. He gestured to the holographic map. Show them what happens if the fighting continues. Show them the Cascade War scenarios. Make them understand that freedom without cooperation means death. Before Sarah could respond, alarms screamed across the command center. We have a critical situation, a technician announced. The Hekith just teleported an antimatter weapon into the Vrail homeworld's atmosphere. Detonation in 90 seconds. The room went silent. Sarah felt ice in her veins. Antimatter. If that weapon detonated in atmosphere, it would create a blast visible from neighboring star systems. Millions would die. Maybe billions. And the Vrail would retaliate with everything they had. Can we stop it? Park demanded. Not with our systems, the technician replied. It's too far. We'd need to teleport something 60 light-years in under 90 seconds. I can do it, Trevik said. He was already moving to a console. The Vryn had been developing teleportation for 8,000 years. We have range humanity doesn't. Do it, Sarah ordered. Trevik's forearms moved across the controls with impossible speed. Numbers filled the screen. Calculations Sarah couldn't follow. Locked, Trevik said, teleporting a containment field around the weapon. 3, 2, 1. Now. The screen showed a live feed from the Vrail homeworld. The antimatter weapon was a small sphere, falling through the atmosphere. Then suddenly it was surrounded by a shimmering field. The weapon detonated, but the blast was contained, trapped inside Trevik's field. The energy dissipated harmlessly. Sarah exhaled. They had stopped it. Barely. Thank you, she said to Trevik. Don't thank me yet, Trevik replied. That was one weapon. There will be more. The Hekith are preparing another strike. The Vrail are arming their planet killers. And they're not the only ones. 6 other species are mobilizing for war. Sarah looked at the map. The red indicators were multiplying. The galaxy was falling apart. We need to stop this, she said. Now, before it's too late, and call a meeting, Trevik suggested. Invite every species. The Council. The Vryn Network. Everyone. Tell them they have a choice. Work together or watch the galaxy burn. Park nodded. We can host it here. On Earth, neutral ground. Earth isn't neutral, Malik pointed out. We started this. Exactly, Sarah said. We started this, which means we have to fix it. Send the invitations. Tell them we're meeting in 48 hours. Tell them this is their last chance to avoid another Cascade War. The invitations went out. To the Galactic Council. To the VIN Network. To every species that had developed teleportation. To the ones preparing for war, some accepted immediately. Some refused. Some didn't respond at all. But 30 hours later, the Council's diplomatic ship arrived in Earth orbit. Observer Zarthek sent a message requesting permission to land. Sarah watched his ship descend. The Council was coming, not as conquerors this time. As refugees, as survivors of a system that had kept the peace through fear and control for 12,000 years, that system was dead. The question now was what would replace it. "Ma'am," a technician called. "We're receiving a message from the Calyx Empire. They're refusing to attend the meeting. They say species should be free to expand as they wish. They're calling our proposal a new form of council tyranny." Sarah's jaw tightened. The Calyx were going to be a problem. But one problem at a time. Zadek's ship landed. The former council observer emerged, looking older than Sarah remembered, tired, defeated. "Commander Chen," he said, "I never thought I'd see the day when the council came to Earth begging for help." "We're not begging," Sarah replied. "We're cooperating. That's the difference." Zarthek smiled sadly. "Is it? Or are you just building a new cage with prettier bars?" Sarah didn't have an answer for that, because honestly, she didn't know yet. Part 5. The new Equation 24 Hours. That was all Sarah Chen had to solve, a problem the Galactic Council couldn't solve in 12,000 years. How to have freedom without annihilation. The meeting chamber on Earth was packed. Representatives from 60 species filled the seats. The old council members sat on one side, looking uncomfortable in a room where they weren't in charge. The Varin network occupied another section, silver-skinned and watchful. And scattered throughout were species Sarah, had never heard of civilizations that had been suppressed or hidden or forgotten. Everyone was armed. Not with weapons, but with the knowledge of how to teleport weapons anywhere in the galaxy instantly. That made every species equally dangerous. Equally vulnerable, Sarah stood at the center podium. Malik was beside her, surrounded by sensor equipment and data screens. They had worked through the night on something, an idea. Maybe their last idea. "Thank you for coming," Sarah began. Her voice echoed through the chamber. "I know many of you don't want to be here. You've just gained freedom from council control. The last thing you want is a human telling you what to do." Some heads nodded. Others remained still, waiting. "But we have a problem," Sarah continued. "In the last 72 hours, teleportation technology has spread to over 40 species. In that same time, we've had 200 armed conflicts. 18 planets have been attacked. An antimatter weapon nearly destroyed the Vrail homeworld. 3 species have declared total war on their neighbors." The chamber was silent. Everyone knew the statistics. They had lived them. "The Galactic Council kept peace by controlling technology," Sarah said. "They decided who could advance and who couldn't. They suppressed research. They kept species primitive. And yes, it worked. For 12,000 years, it worked. But it was wrong. Freedom matters. Progress matters. Species have the right to determine their own futures." Observer Zarthek stood. "Then what's your solution, Commander?" "Freedom plus weapons equals death. The Orthony proved that. We all know what happens when aggressive species get unlimited power." "You're right," Sarah said. "Freedom without accountability is dangerous. But control without consent is tyranny. So we need something different. Something that's never been tried before." She nodded to Malik. He pressed a control, and holographic equations filled the air above the chamber. "When I first created the teleportation effect," Sarah explained, "I was trying to survive. I wasn't thinking about physics. But Malik analyzed what actually happened. And he found something interesting." Malik took over. "Every teleportation event creates a quantum signature, a unique pattern in subspace. I didn't notice it at first because I was focused on making the technology work. But it's always there. Every jump leaves a trace." "So," a Heketh representative demanded, "what does that matter?" "It matters," Sarah said, "because it means every teleportation can be tracked. Every weapon that jumps through space, every ship, every projectile. Everything leaves a signature that can be detected and recorded." Understanding spread through the chamber. Some species looked intrigued. Others looked horrified. "You're proposing surveillance," Zarthek said. "Monitoring every species in the galaxy." "Not surveillance," Sarah corrected. "Transparency. There's a difference. She gestured, and the holographic display changed. It showed a network vast and interconnected. This is the quantum trace network, Sarah explained. Every species that joins agrees to share their teleportation data. When anyone makes a jump, the signature is logged in a distributed database. No single species controls it. Everyone can access it. Everyone can see who's teleporting what and where. The chamber erupted. Species shouting over each other. Some in support. Many in outrage. A Calyx representative stood. You expect us to surrender our privacy? Our military secrets? This is exactly what the Council did, controlling us through information. No, Trevik said, standing. The Vryn ambassador's voice cut through the chaos. The Council controlled information by hiding it. This shares information equally. Nobody has an advantage because everyone knows everything. Exactly, Sarah said. If the Hekith teleport a weapon toward Vrail space, everyone knows immediately. The Vrail can respond, but so can everyone else. The entire galaxy becomes witnesses to every action. And if we refuse to join this network, the Calyx representative demanded. Then you don't use teleportation in galactic space, Sarah replied simply. Species that join the network agree to the transparency. Species that don't join agree to stay in their own territory. If a non-member tries to teleport weapons outside their borders, every member species can see it and respond as a unified front. You're creating a new council, Zarthek said. Just with different rules. No, Sarah said firmly. The council made decisions for everyone. This system makes decisions impossible to hide. There's no central authority. No one species in charge. Just transparency and mutual accountability. A small species Sarah didn't recognize stood. Their translator rendered their speech as a gentle whisper. What about mistakes? What if a species teleports something by accident, and others interpret it as an attack? Good question, Malik said. He pulled up more data. The quantum signatures include directional vectors and payload masses. You can tell the difference between a weapon and a cargo ship. Between an invasion force and a science expedition, the data is precise enough to eliminate most misunderstandings. Another species asked. We can't eliminate all risk, Sarah admitted. But we can make aggression visible and cooperation profitable. Under this system, if you attack someone, everyone knows immediately. You face the combined response of every member species. But if you trade, if you cooperate, if you share technology that's also visible, your reputation matters. Trust becomes currency. The chamber was quieter now. Species were considering, calculating. What about the Cascade War? Zarthax asked. The Orthani didn't care about reputation. They didn't care about being seen. They wanted conquest, and they used teleportation to achieve it. How does your system stop another Orthani? Sarah met his gaze. It doesn't. Not completely. No system can guarantee safety, but it makes conquest much harder. The Orthani succeeded because they had teleportation and nobody else did. They had a monopoly on the technology. Under the quantum trace network, everyone has teleportation. Everyone can see attacks coming. Everyone can respond together. Safety through equal vulnerability, Trevik said. Nobody can hide. Nobody can surprise attack. The only way to survive is to cooperate. Silence filled the chamber. Sarah could see species weighing the options. Freedom with transparency versus isolation. Trust versus control. The Hekith representative stood. My people have been fighting the Vrail for 6,000 years. We have grievances that span. The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars. It's a massive station where hundreds of species gathered to discuss the affairs of civilized space. Today's session was supposed to be routine. Ambassador Kelroth of the Vryn Collective stood at the central podium. His forearms gesturing at holographic displays that showed ancient ruins, as you can see. Honored delegates, Kelroth said in his clicking voice. Our archaeological team has completed the survey of the Sol system. The evidence is conclusive. The species that once called themselves humanity destroyed themselves approximately 300 years ago. The delegates murmured among themselves. It was a familiar story. Many primitive species reached for the stars too quickly, obtained weapons they could not control, and reduced their homeworlds to radioactive ash. Director Zephyx, the insectoid leader of the council, tapped his mandibles together thoughtfully. His compound eyes reflected the images of ruined cities on Earth, broken colonies on Mars, and shattered stations around Venus.
Oh.
The same fate befalls those who advance too quickly without wisdom, he said. Let their memories serve as a warning to others. Dr. Venn, a tall Galrith with silver skin and wise eyes, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. For years he had studied the human ruins. Something about the destruction pattern never felt right to him. Nuclear weapons left certain signatures, certain patterns. The Earth ruins did not quite match those patterns. But he had no proof, only suspicions, so he remained silent. The Sol system will remain under Vryn administration, Kelroth continued. The mining operations on Earth have been most profitable. The planet contains rare minerals that every screen in the chamber suddenly went dark. Then they blazed back to life, filled with warning symbols. Alarms screamed through the station. Delegates jumped to their feet in confusion and fear. What is happening? Zephyx demanded. A young Credle officer rushed into the chamber, his wings buzzing frantically. Director, we are detecting quantum signatures. Dozens of them, all appearing simultaneously in the outer Perseus arm. Quantum signatures. Zephyx's voice rose. That technology does not exist. What could possibly, sir? They are ships. Large ones. And they are broadcasting identification codes. The officer's voice trembled. Ancient Terran standard codes, sir. The chamber fell, absolutely silent. Every delegate stared at the screens as data streamed across them. Ship after ship appeared from nowhere, their quantum drives creating ripples in space itself. The technology was unlike anything the Council possessed. Kelrath's skin turned pale gray. Impossible. The humans are extinct. We surveyed their worlds. We found their bodies. Attempting contact now, the communications officer announced. Static filled the chamber, then cleared. A voice spoke in perfect galactic common, but with an accent that made several elder delegates gasp in recognition. It was the accent of ancient Earth. This is Captain Sarah, Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We are transmitting our identification and diplomatic credentials. We are coming home. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions, accusations, demands. Zephyx slammed his clawed hand on his desk, calling for order. This must be a deception. Some species using old human codes too, sir? We are receiving visual confirmation, the officer interrupted. On every screen, an image appeared. A human woman in a crisp uniform stood on a ship's bridge. Behind her, other humans worked at stations filled with technology that made council scientists look like children playing with toys. Captain Chen's face was calm, but her eyes held something fierce and unyielding. 300 years ago, humanity left Earth to survive. Now we are returning. We hope for peaceful relations with the Galactic Council. However, we are coming home, regardless of your decision. Dr. Venn stood slowly, his heart racing. He had been right. Humanity had not destroyed themselves. They had left. But why? And where had they been? Captain Chen, Zephyx said, trying to maintain his authority. The Sol system is now under Council jurisdiction. You cannot simply Director Zephyx, Chen interrupted quietly. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of our return. Our fleet will reach Earth orbit in 72 hours. We expect all of our people still living there to be ready for reunion. Your people. Kelroth stepped forward, his voice sharp. There are no humans on Earth except the primitive descendants who you enslaved, Chen said, and her voice could have frozen stars. Yes, Ambassador. We know about that too. We know what you did to our world while we were gone. The screen switched to show the human fleet in detail. There were not dozens of ships. There were hundreds. Each one bristled with weapons that Council sensors could not fully analyze. Their shields flickered with energy signatures that should not be possible. How? Zephyx whispered. How did you survive? How did you build this? That, Chen said, is a long story. One we will share when we arrive. Until then, I suggest the Council prepares for humanity's return. We have been gone for 3 centuries. We have changed. We have grown. And we have not forgotten what we left behind. The transmission ended. The chamber remained in stunned silence. Finally, Kelroth spoke, his voice shaking. We must mobilize the defense fleets. We cannot allow. Dr. Venn laughed bitterly. Did you see those ships? Did you analyze their technology? They are centuries beyond us. If they wanted to destroy the Council, they could do it before we fired a single shot. Then what do? A delegate cried out. Zephyx looked at the empty screens where Chen's face had been. We prepare, he said quietly, and we pray that humanity's mercy is greater than our guilt. In the depths of space, the Terran Expeditionary Fleet moved forward. On the bridge of the Tef Avalon, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the viewport, watching the stars stream past. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman who had left Earth as a young officer and returned as a hardened commander. Behind her, her second officer approached. Captain, we are detecting increased Council fleet movements. They are mobilizing. Let them, Chen said softly. We did not cross 300 years and half the galaxy to be turned away at our own door. She touched the viewport gently, as if she could reach through the glass and touch Earth itself. We are coming home, she whispered, and nothing in this galaxy will stop us. The fleet jumped to quantum drive, vanishing in flashes of impossible light. 72 hours until Earth, 72 hours until the galaxy learned what humanity had become. And in the Council chamber, Director Zephyx looked at the reports streaming across his desk and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear. The galaxy never expected humanity's return, and the consequences. Hit immediately Part 2. The Forgotten Exodus Captain Sarah. Chen sat in her quarters aboard the Tef Avalon, staring at the personal log she had recorded 300 years ago. The face looking back at her from the screen was younger, more hopeful, but already carrying the weight of impossible choices. Personal log. Lieutenant Sarah Chen, date March 15th, 2325. Her recorded voice said, Tomorrow we enter cryosleep. Tomorrow we leave Earth forever. I want to remember why. I want whoever wakes me up to understand what we are doing and why we had no choice. Chen paused the recording. Even after all this time, the memories hurt. She took a deep breath and continued watching. 6 months ago, Dr. James Park detected it, a dark matter cascade moving through our region of space. He spent weeks checking his calculations, praying he was wrong. He was not. The cascade would hit Earth in 9 years. When it did, it would strip away our atmosphere, boil our oceans, and sterilize every living thing on the planet. On the screen, young Sarah's eyes filled with tears. We tried everything. We sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council, begging for help, for technology, for anything. They never responded. We were too primitive for them to care about. We had applied for Council membership 3 times. 3 times they rejected us. Said we were not ready, not advanced enough. Now we were dying, and they did not even have the decency to answer our calls. Chen remembered those dark days. The panic, the riots, the despair as governments collapsed and people realized there was no escape. But humanity does not give up, her younger self said, and despite the tears, there was steel in her voice. If the Council would not save us, we would save ourselves. Project Exodus launched in secret. 1,000 generation ships built in hidden shipyards across the outer solar system. Each ship could carry 10,000 people in cryosleep. 10 million souls. Not all of humanity, but enough. Enough to survive. The recording shifted to show images of the massive ships being built. Humans working day and night, pouring every resource they had into the vessels that would carry their species into the void. But there was a problem, young Sarah continued. Our quantum tunnel drives were experimental, untested. We could open tunnels through space, but we could not control where they led. The tunnels were one way. Once we left, we could never come back. We would be lost in unknown space, searching for new worlds, with no way to return to Earth. Chen paused the log again. She stood and walked to her viewport, looking out at the stars. They had been lost for so long. Drifting through the dark, searching for hope, she resumed the recording. And then someone asked the question that changed everything, young Sarah said. If we just disappeared, would the council come? I do not know, Corvath admitted, but we have made a terrible mistake. At the Galactic Council station, Dr. Venn worked frantically in the archives. He had spent 3 days searching through old records. Following a suspicion that had gnawed at him since humanity's return, now he found it. Buried deep in classified files, documents that should have been destroyed long ago. Director Zefix Venn called over the communication system. You need to see this now. Zefix arrived within minutes. What is it, Doctor? I am managing a crisis. The Vrin report that humans have attacked Earth. No, Venn said quietly. The humans have liberated Earth. There is a difference. But that is not why I called you. Look at this. He pulled up files that were 300 years old. Council exploration reports from the Sol system. Dated exactly 1 month after humanity supposedly destroyed themselves. Zefix read the reports, his mandibles clicking faster and faster. These are detection logs. Quantum signatures. Many of them. Heading out of the Sol system, the Council knew, Venn said, and his voice shook with anger. They knew humanity escaped. They detected the quantum tunnels, but they chose to keep it secret. They declared humanity extinct and divided Earth among the Vrin. They knew the truth, and they lied. This cannot be, Zefix whispered. But the evidence was clear. The files were authentic. The Council had betrayed humanity before humanity even knew the Council existed beyond their unanswered calls for help. It gets worse, Venn continued. Look at this report. From the Vrin surveyor, who first claimed Earth, he describes finding humans alive, confused, traumatized, descendants of those who stayed behind. And his recommendation? Venn's voice dripped with disgust. Enslave them. Use them as labor. Erase their history so they never know what they lost. Zefix felt something he had not experienced in his long life. Shame. Deep, burning shame. The Council approved this? Not officially. But they looked the other way. Earth was too rich in resources. The Vrin too influential. So they let it happen. For 200 years, they let it happen. Communication alert interrupted them. Captain Chen's face appeared on every screen in the station. People of the Galactic Council, she said, her voice carrying across thousands of systems. I am Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. I am broadcasting this message to every species, every world, every station in Council space. You deserve to know the truth. The broadcast showed everything. The dark matter cascade. The desperate exodus. The volunteers who stayed behind to die. The evidence of Council detection of humanity's escape. The Vrin's enslavement of survivors. All of it laid bare for the galaxy to see. 300 years ago, humanity left Earth to survive, Chen continued. We sacrificed everything. We became lost in the void so our species would not die. We thought Earth was doomed. We were wrong. Earth survived. But when we were gone, you moved in. You took our home. You enslaved our people. You erased our history. Her voice grew harder. We are done asking for permission to exist. We are done begging for recognition. We are done accepting your judgment of whether we are worthy. Earth is ours. Our people are free. And if any species, any government, any authority thinks they can take that from us again, they are welcome to try. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, billions of beings sat in stunned silence, processing what they had just learned. In his office, Zefix looked at Dr. Venn. What have we done? You betrayed them, Venn said bluntly. The question is, what do you do now? Zefix looked at the reports of Vrin ships hanging helplessly in orbit. Reports of Zaldor battle fleets mobilizing. Reports of Council species choosing sides. The galaxy was fracturing, and it was all because of one simple truth. Humanity had returned, and the consequences were only beginning. The galaxy never expected humanity's return, and the consequences hit immediately. Part 4. The human problem, the galaxy, was on fire. Not literally, but politically and economically, it might as well have been burning. Within 1 week of humanity's liberation of Earth, 43 Vrin colony worlds faced the same situation. Human liberation teams appeared, extracted enslaved humans, and vanished. The Vrin economy, built on cheap human labor, collapsed overnight. At the Galactic Council emergency session, chaos ruled. Delegates shouted at each other across the chamber. Some demanded action against humanity, others called for negotiation. Many simply sat in stunned silence, unsure how to proceed. Order. Director Zephyx slammed his clawed hand on his desk repeatedly. We must have order. Ambassador Kelrath of the Vrin stood, his forearms shaking with rage. The humans have committed acts of war against the Vrin collective. They have stolen our workers. They have crippled our economy. They have humiliated our military. We demand the Council authorize military action. Military action? A Kretel delegate laughed bitterly. Did you not watch what happened to your fleet at Earth? They disabled 200 warships without firing a shot. What makes you think our combined forces could do better? We have numbers, Kelroth insisted. The humans have a few hundred ships. The Council can field tens of thousands. We overwhelm them with sheer force. Dr. Venn stood slowly. And how many beings do you plan to sacrifice, Ambassador? Because the humans have shown remarkable restraint. They have not killed a single Vrin. Not one. But if you force them into true warfare, do you think they will maintain that restraint? They are bluffing, a Zaldor general announced, rising to his full height. The Zaldor were the Council's warrior species, famous across the galaxy for never losing a battle. Their technology is impressive, yes, but they lack experience. They are 300 years removed from warfare. We are not. The Zaldor Armada will engage the human fleet and show them the price of threatening Council authority. General Zector Zephyx said cautiously. Perhaps we should attempt diplomacy first. Diplomacy. Zector laughed. They broadcast their crimes across the galaxy. They liberate worlds without permission. They mock our authority. No, the Zaldor will restore order. We leave within the hour. On Earth, Captain Chen stood in the ruins of what had once been New York City. The Vrin had stripped it for metals, leaving twisted skeletons of buildings. Her heart ached at what had been done to humanity's home. Captain, Commander Webb approached. The freed humans are asking questions. Hard questions. Many of them do not want to leave the colony worlds. They have families there. Lives. They say forced liberation is just another form of control. Chen closed her eyes. She had feared this. How many? About 30% of those we freed from the outer colonies. They appreciate being free, but they do not want to leave their homes. Even if those homes were originally prison camps? They are right, Chen said quietly. Freedom means choice. Even the choice to stay. Make it clear they can return to those worlds if they wish. We will not force anyone to come to Earth. Some of the crew are not happy with that decision. They think anyone who chooses to stay is betraying humanity. Then those crew members do not understand what we are fighting for. We fight for the right to choose. That includes the choice to build lives wherever they wish. Chen looked at Webb. What about you, Marcus? What do you think? Webb was quiet for a moment. I think we should be harder on the Vrin. They enslaved our people, modified their genetics, erased their history, and we just disabled their ships? We should destroy their government, make them pay, and become the thing we hate. Become conquerors? Become strong enough that no one ever does this to us again. Before Chen could respond, an alert came through. Captain, we have incoming. It is the Zaldor Armada. 3,000 warships. They are demanding we surrender. Chen sighed. Of course they are. How long until they reach engagement range? 10 minutes. Send a message. Tell them we do not want war. Ask them to withdraw. They are not responding, Captain. They are powering weapons. Chen looked at the ruins around her. At the freed humans being reunited with families they thought they would never see again. At Earth, slowly beginning to heal. She thought of her grandmother, who died 300 years ago so humanity could survive. All ships, battle stations, she said quietly. Defensive protocols only. Do not fire unless fired upon. But if they insist on war, we show them exactly what humanity has become. The Zaldor Armada arrived in formation, a massive wall of warships that had conquered half the galaxy. General Zector stood on his flagship's bridge, confident in certain victory. Human fleet detected, his tactical officer reported. 473 ships. They are holding position at Earth orbit. Good. They stand and fight rather than run. Respectable. Zector opened a channel. Terran vessels. This is General Zector of the Zaldor Armada. You have violated Council law. You will surrender your ships and submit to Council authority, or you will be destroyed. Captain Chen's face appeared on screen. She looked tired. Sad. General, please. We do not want this fight. Withdraw your forces. Let us resolve this peacefully. You have 1 minute to comply. General, I am begging you. You do not understand what you are facing. 50 seconds. Shen's expression hardened. Then on your head be it. Humanity does not want this war, but we will not surrender. We will never surrender again. Time is up. All ships, open fire. 3,000 Zaldor warships unleashed their weapons. Energy beams, missiles, plasma torpedoes. Everything they had. The space between the fleets lit up like a newborn star. The human fleet did not move. Their shields shimmered into existence, strange patterns of light that seemed to bend reality itself. Every single shot, every single weapon, simply vanished as it touched those shields. Not deflected, not absorbed, vanished, as if it had never existed. Zector stared in disbelief. Fire again? All weapons. The Zaldor Armada fired everything. Enough firepower to destroy a planet. It all vanished into the human shields like raindrops into an ocean. Then the human fleet moved. They did not fire weapons. They simply accelerated, moving between the Zaldor ships faster than sensors could track. As they passed, Zaldor vessels suddenly went dark. Not destroyed. Not damaged. Just offline. Dead in space. Report. Zector shouted. Sir, all weapon systems are offline. Engines are offline. Everything except life support is offline. And sir, the tactical officer's voice trembled. Our weapons are gone. Gone? Erased, sir. The entire weapons array. It is as if they reached into our ships and simply deleted them. No trace remains. Not even molecular residue. 17 minutes after it began, the battle ended. 3,000 Zaldor warships hung in space, powerless and helpless. Not a single crew member had been killed. Not a single hull had been breached. But the most feared military force in the galaxy had been completely neutralized. General. Zector received a message from Captain Chen. Her voice was gentle, almost apologetic. General, we tried to warn you. We did not want this. But you need to understand something. Humanity spent 300 years surviving in unknown space. We built technologies you cannot imagine because we had to. We evolved beyond what we were because we had no choice. We could have destroyed your fleet. We chose not to. Please take that choice seriously. The transmission ended. Zector sat in his dead ship, surrounded by his defeated armada, and for the first time in his long military career, he felt genuine fear. The humans had not just defeated them, they had made it look effortless. On Earth, Dr. Ven arrived on a shuttle, carrying a desperate proposal. He met Captain Chen in person, in the ruins of the old United Nations building. Captain Chen, he said, I am Dr. Ven. I have studied your people for decades. I never believed you were extinct. Dr. Ven, I have read your papers. You were one of the few who saw the truth. I need you to meet with council species who had nothing to do with Earth's occupation. The Kretel, the Galrith, others. They are afraid. They see what you did to the Zaldor, and they think you will conquer the galaxy. We do not want to conquer anyone, and prove it. Meet with them. Show them humanity seeks justice, not dominion. Chen considered this. I will meet them, but only on one condition. The meetings happen here. On Earth, they must see what was done to our world. They must understand why we fight. Ven agreed immediately. Within 3 days, delegates from 60 council species arrived on Earth. What they saw broke many of them. The ruins of cities, the genetic modification facilities where Vryn scientists had altered human DNA to make them weaker, the monuments that had been toppled and history that had been erased, and worst of all, the freed humans who still bore the scars of 2 centuries of slavery. Director Zephyx stood in what had once been the Library of Congress, now a hollow shell. He had reviewed the full records, seen the evidence of council complicity, and now, seeing the results firsthand, he felt something crack inside him. Captain Chen, he said quietly, I am sorry. Those words are insufficient, but they are all I have. Chen looked at him. Director, I do not want your apology. I want your help. Help us rebuild. Help us ensure this never happens to any species again. Do that, and we can move forward. Zephyx nodded, unable to speak. Around him, other delegates made similar pledges. But not all. The Vryn delegation, led by Ambassador Kelrath, stood apart, faces hard with anger and pride. The galaxy was fracturing, and the question remained, would humanity's return lead to peace, or would it tear everything apart? The galaxy never expected humanity's return, and the consequences hit immediately. Part 5, the new equilibrium. The summit on Earth had been going for 3 days. Captain Sarah Chen sat across from representatives of over 60 council species. Some were sympathetic, some were afraid, and some, like Ambassador Kelrath of the Vryn, were simply angry. Your terms are unacceptable, Kelrath declared, his forearms crossed. You demand we withdraw from all worlds with human populations. You demand reparations. You demand full council membership with veto power. These are the demands of conquerors, not victims. Chen remained calm. We are not demanding anything we do not deserve. The Vryn Collective built an economy on enslaved humans. 2 centuries of forced labor, genetic modification, cultural erasure. We are owed compensation for those crimes. Crimes? Kelrath laughed bitterly. We found primitives on a dead world and gave them purpose, gave them structure. You call that crime? I call it exactly what it is. Slavery, theft, genocide of culture and identity. Chun's voice remained steady, but fire burned in her eyes. And you will acknowledge it, or you will face consequences. Threats? Kelrath stood. You have disabled our fleets. You have stolen our workers. You have humiliated us before the entire galaxy. And now you threaten more? The Vryn Collective rejects your terms? Completely. Earth and all colony worlds with human populations are rightfully ours by salvage law. If you want them, you will have to take them by force. Kelrath and the Vryn delegation walked out. Several other species allied with the Vryn followed. The summit appeared to be falling apart. Director Zephyx looked at Chen with worry. Captain, without Vryn cooperation, any peace agreement is meaningless. They are too influential, too economically powerful. If they refuse, others will follow. Chen nodded slowly. Then we have a decision to make. In her quarters that night, Chen met with her senior staff. Commander Marcus Webb paced like a caged animal. Captain, the answer is obvious. We show them what our weapons can actually do. Not just disable their ships. Destroy them. Hit the Vryn homeworld hard enough that they have no choice but to surrender. You want to kill them, Chen said quietly. I want them to understand they cannot win. Right now, they think we are weak because we have not killed anyone. They think our mercy is weakness. Prove it is not. Show them we could exterminate them if we wanted to? Dr. Venn, who had been invited to the meeting, shook his head. Violence will only breed more violence. You would make martyrs of the Vrin, turn them from criminals into victims. The galaxy would never accept humanity if you slaughter them. But doing nothing lets them win, Webb argued. They walk away, rebuild, and in 50 years they try this again. We need to break them now, Lieutenant Park spoke up. There is a third option. The Council proposed economic sanctions. Cut the Vrin off from all trade. Their economy is already collapsing. Give it time, and they will have no choice but to negotiate. Time is a luxury, Webb said. Every day we wait, more humans suffer on Vrin worlds. Chen listened to them all. She thought of her grandmother, who died so humanity could survive. She thought of the freed slaves, finally reunited with their heritage. She thought of the galaxy, watching to see what humanity would become. None of these options are right, she said finally. We do not attack because that makes us the monsters they fear. We do not wait because our people suffer. And we do not accept the status quo because that makes our return meaningless. Then what do? Webb asked. Chen smiled slightly. We do what humanity does best. We try something they do not expect. 2 days later, Captain Chen made a broadcast. Not to governments or military leaders, but directly to the citizens of the Vrin Collective. People of Vrin, she said, speaking from Earth's surface with ruins visible behind her. My name is Captain Sarah Chen. I am human. 300 years ago, my species left Earth to survive an extinction event. We thought our home was doomed. We were wrong. When we returned, we found our world occupied, our people enslaved, our history erased. The broadcast showed footage of the mining camps, the genetic modification facilities, the freed humans, scarred and traumatized. Many Vrin citizens, watching from their homes, shifted uncomfortably. Your government has refused to acknowledge what was done. They claim we were primitives, not worth recognition. That enslaving us was acceptable because we were lesser beings. They have rejected peace. They have chosen continued conflict. Chen paused. But I do not believe you are your government. I do not believe most Vrin people support slavery, support cultural genocide. So I am making you an offer. Come to Earth. See the evidence for yourselves. See what was done in your name. See the freed humans who can finally tell their stories. Then go home and decide. Is this what you want your civilization to be known for? She looked directly into the camera. I am broadcasting the coordinates where you can safely travel to Earth. We guarantee your safety. No Vrin who comes to witness the truth will be harmed. We only ask that you look, that you listen, that you see what your government does not want you to know. Then make your own choice about what justice looks like. The broadcast ended. Ambassador Kelroth, watching from the Vrin homeworld, was furious. She is attempting to undermine our government, attempting to turn our own people against us. This is psychological warfare. The Galactic Council chamber floated in the void between stars, a massive station where hundreds of species gathered to discuss the affairs of civilized space. Today's session was supposed to be routine. Ambassador Kelroth of the Vrin Collective stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing at holographic displays that showed ancient ruins. Honored delegates, Kelroth said in his clicking voice, our archaeological team has completed the survey of the Sol system. The evidence is conclusive. The species that once called themselves humanity destroyed themselves approximately 300 years ago. The delegates murmured among themselves. It was a familiar story. Many primitive species reached for the stars too quickly, obtained weapons they could not control, and reduced their homeworlds to radioactive ash. Director Zephix, the insectoid leader of the council, tapped his mandibles together thoughtfully. His compound eyes reflected the images of ruined cities on Earth, broken colonies on Mars, and shattered stations around Venus. The same fate befalls those who advance too quickly without wisdom, he said. Let their memory serve as a warning to others. Dr. Venn, a tall Galrith, with silver skin and wise eyes, shifted uncomfortably in his seat. For years he had studied the human ruins. Something about the destruction pattern never felt right to him. Nuclear weapons left certain signatures, certain patterns. The Earth ruins did not quite match those patterns, but he had no proof, only suspicions, so he remained silent. The Sol system will remain under Vryn administration, Kelroth continued. The mining operations on Earth have been most profitable. The planet contains rare minerals that every screen in the chamber suddenly went dark. Then they blazed back to life, filled with warning symbols. Alarms screamed through the station. Delegates jumped to their feet in confusion and fear. What is happening? Zephyx demanded. A young Kretel officer rushed into the chamber, his wings buzzing frantically. Director, we are detecting quantum signatures. Dozens of them, all appearing simultaneously in the outer Perseus arm. Quantum signatures? Zephyx's voice rose. That technology does not exist. What could possibly, sir? They are ships. Large ones. And they are broadcasting identification codes. The officer's voice trembled. Ancient Terran standard codes, sir. The chamber fell absolutely silent. Every delegate stared at the screens as data streamed across them. Ship after ship appeared from nowhere, their quantum drives creating ripples in space itself. The technology was unlike anything the Council possessed. Kelrath's skin turned pale gray. Impossible. The humans are extinct. We surveyed their worlds. We found their bodies. Attempting contact now, the communications officer announced. Static filled the chamber, then cleared. A voice spoke in perfect galactic common, but with an accent that made several elder delegates gasp in recognition. It was the accent of ancient Earth. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Terran Expeditionary Fleet. We are transmitting our identification and diplomatic credentials. We are coming home. The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted questions, accusations, demands. Zephyx slammed his clawed hand on his desk, calling for order. This must be a deception. Some species using old human codes too. Sir, we are receiving visual confirmation, the officer interrupted. On every screen, an image appeared. A human woman in a crisp uniform stood on a ship's bridge. Behind her, other humans worked at stations filled with technology that made Council scientists look like children playing with toys. Captain Chen's face was calm, but her eyes held something fierce and unyielding. 300 years ago, humanity left Earth to survive. Now we are returning. We hope for peaceful relations with the Galactic Council. However, we are coming home regardless of your decision. Dr. Venn stood slowly, his heart racing. He had been right. Humanity had not destroyed themselves. They had left. But why? And where had they been? Captain Chen Zephyx said, trying to maintain his authority. The Sol system is now under Council jurisdiction. You cannot simply Director Zephyx, Chen interrupted quietly. We are not asking for permission. We are informing you of our return. Our fleet will reach Earth's orbit in 72 hours. We expect all of our people still living there to be ready for reunion, your people. Kelroth stepped forward, his voice sharp. There are no humans on Earth except the primitive descendants who you enslaved. Chen said, and her voice could have frozen stars. Yes, Ambassador. We know about that too. We know what you did to our world while we were gone. The screens switched to show the human fleet in detail. There were not dozens of ships. There were hundreds. Each one bristled with weapons that Council sensors could not fully analyze. Their shields flickered with energy signatures that should not be possible. How? Zephyx whispered. How did you survive? How did you build this? That, Chen said, is a long story. One we will share when we arrive. Until then, I suggest the Council prepares for humanity's return. We have been gone for 3 centuries. We have changed. We have grown. And we have not forgotten what we left behind. The transmission ended. The chamber remained in stunned silence. Finally, Kelroth spoke, his voice shaking. We must mobilize the defense fleets. We cannot allow. Dr. Venn laughed bitterly. Did you see those ships? Did you analyze their technology? They are centuries beyond us. If they wanted to destroy the Council, they could do it before we fired a single shot. Then what do we do? A delegate cried out. Zephyx looked at the empty screens where Chen's face had been. We prepare, he said quietly, and we pray that humanity's mercy is greater than our guilt. In the depths of space, the Terran Expeditionary Fleet moved forward. On the bridge of the Tef Avalon, Captain Sarah Chen stood before the viewport, watching the stars stream past. Her reflection in the glass showed a woman who had left Earth as a young officer and returned as a hardened commander. Behind her, her second officer approached. Captain, we are detecting increased Council fleet movements. They are mobilizing, let them, Chen said softly. We did not cross 300 years and half the galaxy to be turned away at our own door. She touched the viewport gently, as if she could reach through the glass and touch Earth itself. We are coming home, she whispered, and nothing in this galaxy will stop us. The fleet jumped to quantum drive, vanishing in flashes of impossible light. 72 hours until Earth. 72 hours until the galaxy learned what humanity had become. And in the Council chamber, Director Zephyx looked at the reports streaming across his desk and felt something he had not experienced in centuries. Fear, the galaxy never expected humanity's return and the consequences. Hit immediately, part 2. The Forgotten Exodus. Captain Sarah Chen sat in her quarters aboard the Tef Avalon, staring at the personal log she had recorded 300 years ago. The face looking back at her from the screen was younger, more hopeful, but already carrying the weight of impossible choices. Personal log, Lieutenant Sarah Chen. Date March 15th, 2325. Her recorded voice said, Tomorrow, we enter cryosleep. Tomorrow, we leave Earth forever. I want to remember why. I want whoever wakes me up to understand what we are doing and why we had no choice. Jen paused the recording. Even after all this time, the memories hurt. She took a deep breath and continued watching. 6 months ago, Dr. James Park detected it, a dark matter cascade moving through our region of space. He spent weeks checking his calculations, praying he was wrong. He was not. The cascade would hit Earth in 9 years. When it did, it would strip away our atmosphere, boil our oceans, and sterilize every living thing on the planet. On the screen, young Sarah's eyes filled with tears. We tried everything. We sent desperate messages to the Galactic Council, begging for help, for technology, for anything. They never responded. We were too primitive for them to care about. We had applied for Council membership 3 times. 3 times they rejected us. Said we were not ready. Not advanced enough? Now we were dying, and they did not even have the decency to answer our calls. Chen remembered those dark days. The panic. The riots. The despair as governments collapsed and people realized there was no escape. Humanity does not give up, her younger self said. And despite the tears, there was steel in her voice. If the Council would not save us, we would save ourselves. Project Exodus launched in secret. 1,000 generation ships, built in hidden shipyards across the outer solar system. Each ship could carry 10,000 people in cryosleep. 10 million souls. Not all of humanity, but enough. Enough to survive. The recording shifted to show images of the massive ships being built. Humans working day and night, pouring every resource they had into the vessels that would carry their species into the void. But there was a problem, young Sarah continued. Our quantum tunnel drives were experimental, untested. We could open tunnels through space, but we could not control where they led. The tunnels were one way. Once we left, we could never come back. We would be lost in unknown space, searching for new worlds, with no way to return to Earth. Chen paused the log again. She stood and walked to her viewport, looking out at the stars. They had been lost for so long. Drifting through the dark, searching for hope, she resumed the recording. And then someone asked the question that changed everything, young Sarah said. If we just disappeared, would the Council come?